Take a seat and let's read. Hi everyone and welcome back to Reno Wonders. So I wasn't able to post a video last week because I was out like for a couple of days because of my booster shot, and things have just been kind of crazy work-wise and COVID-wise, and those two things have sort of intersected to create this like wild medley of very strange brain fog. So yeah, last week I was just trying to do my best to get any reading done, to be honest, and yeah, I didn't really feel like I had the stamina to film a video, but now I am feeling a lot better. It's Monday, I finished a lot of my tasks this morning, so yeah, I'm in a much better mood than I was last week. I thought that I would film this video, which is kind of a medley of two videos that were supposed to go up last week. Yeah, I hope you guys are kind of game for this longer video, and I hope that you enjoy it. So the first thing I want to talk about would be some of my reading goals for this coming year. I'm not really the kind of person to set like a 100 books challenge or a 50 books challenge, because the effect that that usually has on me is I tend to go through reading like I do work, which isn't necessarily something that I want to do, especially because that's already how things are for me when it comes to reading for grad school. So I tend to think of all of the other reading that I'm doing as more of self-care and an activity that's enriching for me and which kind of feeds my soul. So no numerical value will be attached to my reading goal, but something that I do want to sort of implement this year is more mindful reading, if that makes sense. I really want to be able to internalize books more, to be able to explore both the emotional depth and the intellectual breadth of those books. And I feel like a lot of the times, like even now when I'm looking back at what I read like in 2021, there are very few books that stand out to me, and I think that's because a lot of the times I was doing this thing which I like to think of as like reading robot mode, where like I need to post a video this month, so I need to read at least like 5 to 8 books. I have to go like, you know, just go fast and make sure that at the end of this month I have enough books read, and I don't really want to do that this year. I feel like this year at the end of it, I would like to be able to remember all of the books that I read very distinctly, and maybe that'll also motivate me more to post like analysis type videos, which I know a lot of you guys like. Like, thank you so much for appreciating those like Filipiniana type reading essay things. I work really hard on them and I really enjoy making them. So hopefully I can do that also this year and just focus more on that. My other goal would be to create more content that is not directly maybe about books, but still kind of reading adjacent. I do like to think about productivity a lot, but I also like to think about it now in this way that kind of balances productivity with also time to nurture yourself, and just, you know, time to reconcile what it means to be working within this work culture, obviously, that requires you to be like hustling and be on the grind, but which also kind of requires you to take care of yourself if you're going to survive it, and just trying to reconcile those two things. I also feel like there's a lot of pressure on millennials to prove to the world that, you know, we're not lazy, or that we are not just like people whose heads are floating in the clouds. But then also I feel like that's kind of unfair, because is it such a bad thing, you know, to have your head floating in the clouds sometimes? Like, I feel like everyone needs to dream that's something that people like. So anyway, I want to be posting more things about that also, like productivity, but like mindfulness as well. And also I kind of switched around my aspect ratio again because yeah, I really liked the square look for a while, like it was really cute. But then I also felt like I was kind of wasting this whole art wall bookshelf background. So yeah, I think I'll keep it like this, at least for the first quarter of this year. And now, speaking of reading, I want to talk about some books that I'm currently reading and which I've sort of been jumping back and forth between over the past week or so, past weekend or so. The first book I want to talk about is Actualmatic by Maria Tumarkin. This is a book of essays that my friend Austere got me for Christmas. I think I hauled this in my most recent haul, and basically it's comprised of 5 essays that revolve around 5 different axioms, or I guess you could call an axiom also like a thesis or like a premise. So those premises are things like history repeats itself, time heals all wounds, those kinds of sayings, or I guess like beliefs that people generally tend to hold true. And what she does with those axioms is to look at them vis-a-vis the experiences of people that she's interviewed, people that she's met, and just kind of looking at what their experiences can say about that axiom and whether or not that's sort of adding to what the axiom is saying or contradicting what it's saying, or just kind of looking at it in a more nuanced way. And the thing I would say about this book is that it's very thorough, and for something that reads kind of like a memoir, I find it interesting that most of the stories are about other people. I find that really refreshing because in most of the creative nonfiction that I read, I find that I'm usually sort of drawn to people who can talk about their own lives and their own experiences, and so it was really nice to read about other people, like people who are not necessarily the author. Like if I think about Maria Tumarkin, I don't really know much about her from this. All I know about her is that she comes from like a migrant family. I think they were from Poland, and then they moved to Australia when she was a teenager, I think. And yeah, so I found that refreshing, and I found that the way that she would kind of talk about herself instead was by being mirrored through the people that she engages with in the book, and I just find it so good. It's so freaking good. I'm almost done with this. I'm less than 100 pages to the end, and I'm on the second to the last axiom already, and it's so good. It's so good. The only thing that I will say about this, I guess, is it's kind of a heavy read. I would not recommend this if you're kind of down in the dumps, which I was sort of last week. So it was kind of difficult, honestly, to keep plowing through this, but I feel like there's a side of me also that was very emotionally masochistic, where I was like, I'm feeling sad already, so I might as well go through this book and read it. So yeah, just a couple of trigger warnings, I guess, for self-harm, suicide, and also for domestic violence. There's a lot of that here, but it's also a very hopeful book. Like, it doesn't look at those things in a way that just kind of goes into like trauma porn. It doesn't do that. It really discusses like resilience, hope, and the way that people can grow around their trauma. The next book that I've been reading is a romance, and this is Beach Read. If you guys follow Ray Reads PH, Ray also picked this up recently, which is kind of funny because we're both Capricorns and we both hauled this for our like Christmas/birthday hauls. And yeah, this is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I completely got this wrong. Like, what I thought it was gonna be about is completely different than what it is about. I thought this was gonna be like a One Day by David Nichols type of situation where they see each other every year, but no, it is not about that. It's basically about two writers, January Andrews and Augustus Everett, and they meet at this lake where January's staying because she's kind of broke and down in the dumps and stuff, and her father left her this house by the lake. And she kind of has mixed feelings about this house because this house was the love shack of her dad and his mistress. So of course, she kind of has some bitter feelings about that. But when her dad leaves her the house after he dies, she kind of has no choice but to stay there because she's kind of broke. She just broke up with her boyfriend and she needs to work on a book. And Augustus Everett ends up being her neighbor, so they kind of have this love-hate thing going, but of course eventually they end up sort of connecting and talking to each other. And what they do is they sort of give each other this challenge, because it turns out that January is a romance author and Gus is a literary fiction author, and so they write about things that are kind of operating in different worlds or around different premises, where January is always chasing this happy ending or wanting to provide that happy ending for her readers, and Gus or Augustus is always chasing like this dark sad ending, which kind of will lend gravitas to his work. So they do a genre swap, and the challenge is basically for January to write a literary fiction novel and for Gus or Augustus to write a romance novel. And it's so cute. Like, this has been very enjoyable to read, and I find it refreshing because admittedly most of the things that I read are super heavy and just like conceptual or academic, and it's so nice. I love romance. Yeah, so I'm like around 70 pages into this and I'm very excited to finish this week. I think I will, just to relieve my stress. And yeah, overall a very interesting and fun read. I'll let you guys know my final thoughts on that in my reading wrap-up for the month. And the third book I'm currently reading is Decreation by Anne Carson. So this is like the complete opposite of beach read. This is very conceptual poetry slash I guess you could call it like lyrical essay slash an opera. And I'll read to you guys a thing that kind of contextualizes what she means by decreation. And yeah, here it says, Simone Weil described decreation as undoing the creature in us, an undoing of self. In her first collection in 5 years, Anne Carson explores this idea with characteristic brilliance and a tantalizing range of reference, moving from Aphrodite to Antigone, Demosthenes to Anne Dillard, Telemachus to Trotsky, and writhing in forms as varied as opera, libretto, screenplay, poem, oratorio, essay, shot list, and rapture. So I'm reading this mostly to be inspired for my thesis. I know you guys are like sick of hearing about my thesis. Probably, don't worry about it. Like, I'm sick of hearing about my thesis too. And basically, La Salle and all of the schools in Manila are on academic break. Thank God. Because like, honestly, my deadline for my poems were supposed to be on the 15th, but I still need to refine them and fix them, and I just need some inspiration to do that. So I feel like Madame Anne Carson is just the baddest bitch, like when it comes to that kind of stuff. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to just absorbing all of this and hopefully being inspired enough to fix up my poems by the end of this week. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you guys in the next one.